Welcome to The Becks, a podcast that explores multimedia horror with host Becky and Sydney. Join us as we talk about movies, books, video games, music, and much, much more.
Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sydney Rebecca.
And I'm Rebecca Snow.
And we're the Becks.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a special guest host, Keagan.
Hi.
So, Sydney was out sick with COVID, so we didn't get to record, and we took New Year's week off. So, I asked Keagan to join us and pick something that he wanted to talk about, and he told me...
Oh, the house that Jack built.
And if you've never seen it, it's terrifying. So, they call it a psychological thriller or a psychological horror movie.
Yeah.
And it's definitely
bad.
Psychological horror.
Yeah. I've watched this movie probably 7 or 8 times at this point. I first saw it at Family Video, where you could rent a DVD or a Blu-ray, which is not a thing anymore, literally anywhere.
No movie rental places?
Not that I know of. And it was the only one I ever saw that had a sticker saying you had to be 18 to rent it. So I had to rent it with my friends, and we watched it, and it was just so disturbing and awful and terrible.
So it was a 2018 film directed by Lars von Trier. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry. It stars Matt Dillon as the main character, the serial killer, Jack.
We've talked about him a lot at this point. He's a really good actor in this, and he really fits the role, but what is he famous for? I can't figure it out.
He's been in a lot of other things.
Is he just a minor character actor? Because, for the life of me...
Couldn't place him anywhere?
No, I don't, I swear, I haven't seen anything else that he's in besides this.
He's been in a lot of things, I believe. Let me look up and see what he's been in. Movies he's been in. The Outsiders. There's Something About Mary.
I've heard of that.
Wild Things. Those would be the big ones. He's in You, Me, and Dupree.
I've heard of that. I think I just, haven't seen the big ones he's in, so...
Yeah.
I'd have to...
You've never seen There's Something About Mary?
No.
Oh my God, you have to watch There's Something About Mary. And The Outsiders is really good too.
Okay.
That's the one I knew him from way back in the day. That was in 83.
He's really good in this, though. He has a nice monotone quality that fits his psychotic character.
Yes. He definitely pulls off this character very, very scaringly well. So the plot starts out with you hear these voices in the dark.
Yeah.
And one is clearly the main character, Jack. And I'll let you explain the other one.
And the other voice is just this distant Italian man. Sounds like just a little Italian grandpa guy. Thick Italian accent, speaking English. If you have the subtitles on, you know the whole time that his name is Virgil.
Yes. And he's almost discussing, he is discussing, certain things that Jack has done in the past. And I do apologize if you can hear my dog barking in the background. She is a very old little dog. She's a dachshund, and she's got some sundowners. So at night, she barks a lot until she falls asleep. So anyway, Virgil and Jack are talking about a 12-year period that Jack has different incidences. I'm air quoting. Different incidents that he does. It's things he has done.
He's got to tell his story in a series of 5 incidents over 12 years.
Yeah.
Which is weird and specific. But the first incident, it starts off, Jack has this signature big red death van. It has no windows besides the ones you need. And it's big, it's red, it's obvious, and he uses it a lot to murder.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 70s-ish.
Yeah.
Roger argued with us and said 60s, but
No,
I think it was
70s.
70s, early 80s.
Yeah,
maybe.
big old, Yeah, the time frame is ambiguous.
Yeah. So, his first incident.
Oh, yeah. So he sees this lady, and she's got a flat tire on the side of the road. And he stops, and he's talking to her. She mentions that her jack is broken, so she can't jack up her car and change her tire. And so Jack, the character, tells her that he can take her to see Sonny, a welder, right?
Yeah, he's like a mechanic, has a shop down the road.
Yeah, to fix her jack. I don't even know if he offered a ride or if she just told him.
No, he didn't want to give her a ride.
Right.
Remember, he kind of was like, no, I don't have time. Can't you find someone to take you? And she kind of just forces herself into his van because he suggested it, so he should take her.
Yeah.
And this character is played by Uma Thurman. So she gets in the van with him.
Oh.
He's taking her to Sonny's. And we did try to record this a couple days ago, and our mic messed up. So what did you think about the red from the van and everything?
Oh, yeah, because he appears in, a red robe later, too. He's always surrounded by red. The jack that she's using is red, he's always surrounded by red when he's doing evil. And I think it just highlights how his character is, completely consumed by just violence. The colors are very muted throughout the movie, but Jack is almost always again surrounded by just the brightest of reds.
So the woman with the flat tire that needs the jack is in the car, and she starts this strange conversation with Jack about, oh, my first mistake. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, oh, getting in the car with a stranger. You could be a serial killer for all I know. And she brings her jack with her because she's going to have Sonny weld it and fix it or whatever.
Yeah, and the whole way, which it's a pretty long ride, she's just taunting him with this serial killer narrative about how he's gonna try to attack her, and she's gonna just grab her jack and smash him in the face, right?
Yeah, and it's almost like she's flirting with him and thinks he's flirting back, but he's annoyed.
He's very monotone and not really giving anything, but her sense of humor is dry, and I think she thinks that's also his sense of humor.
Yeah.
When really he's psychotic.
Yeah, I just don't think he has a sense of humor. He's just insane.
I think he does, but not when it comes to being actual funny shit, just murder.
Yeah. Yeah. So they get to Sonny's, and she tells him, wait for me. I need a ride back. And he's like, I'm sure Sonny will take you back. And she's like, no, I don't want to get in the car with another stranger. I've already done that once. And he's like, I'm as much of a stranger as Sonny is. And she said, no, we know each other. And just acting stupid. And so she's in the garage with Sonny getting her jack welded. And Jack walks up and is like, hey, Sonny. And
Sonny goes, oh, hey, Jack. And Jack goes, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I was working on so-and-so's tractor here before this lady came up, and she's being mighty persistent. And Jack goes, oh, you don't say.
Yeah. So they get back in the car after he fixes the jack or the van, and they're riding back, and they get there, and she gets out, and it's weird because he's not even helping her. He's just not going to help her.
Yeah.
He's just, so she starts trying to use the jack, and she's turning it, and where the handle attaches to turn the jack so it raises up, it snaps off again.
And then she starts asking for a ride back to Sonny's, at which point Jack just goes full mask off and tells her that maybe Sonny would have done a better job if she quit her fucking blabbering. But then, somehow, again, she convinces him to take her back, right?
Yeah. They get back in the van, and they are headed to Sonny's again, and she starts the whole serial killer bullshit. But this time, she gets kind of nasty. Yeah,
she's saying how he actually couldn't be a serial killer because he's, too big of a wimp and shit. And, she's trying to emasculate him now because she's seen that he's mad, I think. And so she's just, talking about how he doesn't have the balls to do it, and that's when he just slams on the brakes of his van and he grabs the jack and he caves in her forehead with it.
Yeah, like just immediately slams it, and you can see like this big, huge cavern in her forehead. It's so gross. It's so bad. And so here he is just sitting in the van. He's bashed her in the head a couple times, and when they were standing at the car and she was asking him to bring her back, he's like, no, I have an appointment. And she is yelling at him, well, who do you have an appointment with? Why, like she has any right to ask this man who was nice enough to take her to the garage to try and have it fixed. So he immediately gets out of the van, throws her body in the back, and...
yeah, he takes her to his weird walk-in freezer that he bought on Prospect Street, where he has like a bunch of frozen pizzas that he bought off some guy.
Yeah.
But he was never able to sell them, and he didn't like how they tasted. So now he's just gonna start putting bodies here, and so that's what he does. And then he goes back to hide this lady's car, and he mentions that where he hid it, it wasn't really good enough because you could still see it from the main highway as you were driving. But the issue was he had actually parked it just over state lines, which means that the police in his jurisdiction didn't care and never looked into it. And he said that he even met up with Sonny a couple times after, and he just never mentioned it.
Yeah, so he was seen with her, clearly. Talked to Sonny with her right there, and here she is just missing. Her car's out there.
In plain view, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then it gets to Incident 2, which starts with him just, like, sitting on some random road, and he's stalking this lady who's, like, walking home from the grocery store.
Yeah. And she's an older lady. Like, the first one was about his age.
Yeah.
This lady's older.
Yeah, definitely, like, retirement age.
Yeah. And her name's Claire.
He gets out of his van and he walks up to her door, and he knocks, and she kind of like halfway, kind of creaks it open and looks out. She goes, who's there? And he says with like this like weird smile on his fucking face, he goes, police.
Like he's confused.
Yeah.
Like, am I really the police?
Yeah. And she goes, police? Oh, is there something going on? Is there something happening? And he starts going off on this weird diatribe about how there's, like, trying to stop something from happening. And he's, like, looking at things, like, behind her in her house, like, trying to see, like, pictures of her husband. And he can tell, like, he was in, a railroad union?
Yeah, he was on the railroad. Like, it showed a picture of him on the railroad. And I can't remember if it showed, like, birth and death dates or something. But he concludes that her husband has died.
He figured out, like, her husband was dead behind her. But he's going off talking about how they're trying to stop things from happening. He mentions the grocery store he just saw her in. And she's like, well, is there anything happening there? And he goes, no, we're just surveying the area. And he goes, can I come into your house?
Yeah, and she's like, do you have a badge?
Oh, and then he goes, oh, no, that's not, really doable today, because my badge is at the silversmith.
Yeah.
Getting a couple notches on it for a promotion. And she goes, oh, so what rank does that make you? And he goes, oh, that's privileged information.
We can't talk about that.
Talk about that.
He's just so sketchy, and she's still standing there talking to him. And the whole time I'm like, shut the door. Just shut the door.
And then he once again, like, asks to get in the house, and she's like, not without a badge. And he starts clapping. He's like, yep, all right, right answer.
And she has someone drive by, a neighbor.
Right, yeah, right before that, the neighbor passed by.
Glenn or something was
Glenn
the
says,
name.
hey, Claire. She goes, hey, Glenn. Jack turns around, hey, Glenn, how are you? And she goes, you know Glenn? You go, oh, yeah, I know Glenn.
Yeah. And so he's standing there clapping and saying, right answer. And she's looking at him even more weird.
And he's like, you don't let somebody claiming to be the police without the proper, he can't even remember the word for badge. She has to finish his own sentence and be like, the badge. And he goes, yep. And he goes, what does she say next? And he goes, lady, I'm I'm not the police. And
Yeah, he's like, oh, I lied to you.
I lied to you, right?
And she's like, what do you mean? And
he
he's
goes,
like, well, I'm not the police.
And she goes, well, then what are you? And he goes, lady, I'm an insurance agent.
And he goes, what would you think if I told you I could get you? Oh, well, first he says, how long has your husband been gone?
Yeah.
And she fed right into that. And she's like, 6 months. And he's like, what? I'm sure you have his pension, blah, blah, blah. She's like, what? He's like, what would you think if I could double that pension? And immediately her eyes light up. She's still a little like, I don't trust you. Which, again, I would have shut the door.
Yeah.
Multiple times shut the door. It was weird. The whole interaction was weird. And, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then he's talking about how he can double her pension and how he was just doing the cop stuff because that's what the police department has asked the insurance agencies to do.
Yeah.
And she buys that, and she goes, well, if you can double my pension, what's the worst that could happen? And
Come on in.
Come on in. And she lets him in, and immediately he switches, and he starts freaking out, and he goes, oh, how embarrassing. How terrible. He's talking about how exposed he felt out there.
Okay, so you were saying that he was yelling at her about how embarrassed he was, and
yeah, how exposed he felt out there, just standing out there. And she like quickly realizes like something's not right here, you know.
And he does this a lot throughout the movie. Like, he's so nice and weird, obviously, because of the whole interaction that they just had. But immediately he flips.
Yeah, he just switches on a dime.
Yeah.
Like, on people like he seems to have even known for like months or years or whatever.
So she offers him a cup of tea to calm him down. And then she tries to run.
And then she tries to run, and then he grabs her by her throat, and he throws her down on the ground, and he starts to choke her. But he doesn't choke her for long enough to kill her. But he's like broken her windpipe, so she's struggling to breathe. And he pulls out like a flask of chamomile tea, and he pours some tea into the cup that came with like this thermos thing. And then he asks her if she likes donuts. And he pulls a little paper sack out from like his jacket pocket, and he like rips up half a little donut. He says, "You're really gonna like this." And he crumbles it into the tea, and he sort of chokes it down the lady's throat. And he thinks that's gonna kill her, I think, because he like gets up, and then the lady starts like spitting up, the tea and the donut.
Tongue is like swollen because of him choking her.
And he goes, "Jesus Christ, lady," and he starts choking her again, and he finally does kill her. And then he takes her outside, and he puts her in the van.
Because he's going to
leave. But he also has to explain to the disembodied Italian man that he has severe OCD.
So he took her out to the van. Put her in the van. And then we find out, as Keagan was saying, talking to Virgil, that
he has OCD. And he keeps having these visions of blood. Because he stabbed her in the chest after he choked her.
And then posed her in the chair and took pictures of her.
So, yeah, these pictures are like his art, but he also has OCD, and he keeps seeing like blood under a carpet, so he goes back into the crime scene, and he checks under the carpet, and nothing's there. He goes back out, and he has like flashes of it under a lamp, so he goes back in and he checks, and then eventually a cop pulls up.
So he hears the sirens coming. Like, he knows the cops are coming there. And he keeps going back in the house to check for blood.
And he has another vision of it being, like, under a painting. When the cop actually, like, the sirens get so close they pull up on his street. And the cop literally, like, parks.
Yeah.
And turns off his sirens.
So as the cop goes walking up to the neighbor's house, which is probably Glenn's house,
yeah,
he gets Claire's body out of the van and, like, hides it in the bushes. And then gets back in his van.
And he just kind of sits there and waits because he's had that vision about the painting blood and he needs to go check it. But eventually he hears a tap on his window and the cop's there. And he goes, "Can you get out of your vehicle, sir?" And Jack gets out of the car, makes him search the vehicle, right?
Yeah, he's like, can you open the back of your van, please? Because the van has windows in the back doors, but they're boarded up.
Yeah, they're boarded up.
Yeah, so the only windows that you can see through are the windshield and the passenger and driver's side doors.
So he opens it, and there's nothing back there because he moved the body. And then he starts going on about how he was a friend of Claire's husband and how they collected the same Railroad magazine from back in the day, and how she was grabbing him some back issues a couple hours ago, but she went in her house and disappeared.
The way he tells these stories, and people are like, okay. And it's just weird.
The cop is definitely suspicious of him.
And the cop knows Claire. It's like a small town,
Yeah,
so he knows the woman.
He even mentioned that Glenn said he saw Jack with Claire.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, yeah. So the cop goes in to check the house because he's saying that this lady's missing. She's been missing for like 3 hours. And Jack follows him in, and he checks under the painting, and then he starts checking under stuff, and the cop sees him like looking at this stuff, and he yells at him. He's like, sir, you have to stop. Like, we gotta stop. And so eventually he tells Jack he's gotta leave the house. And Jack goes on about this whole thing about his rights and how he knows, like, things and his knowledge is valuable in this investigation and shit like that. And he goes, fine, I'm leaving under great protest. And he gets in the van.
And forgets about Claire's body, like,
forgets about her
securing
body.
it.
And he didn't put it in the back of the van, and he floors it. And she's tied to the van. And he literally drags her all the way, like her face is hanging out of this tarp she's wrapped in, and he drags her all the way from her house to his body lockup, and there's a huge blood trail the entire way. And then right after, and he says this is what convinced him, like, his craft was divine by God or whatever, he said that, like, the hardest storm he'd ever seen in his life came down. And it shows that it, like, washes away all the blood and, like, the hair and the teeth for, like, this whole huge, like, miles-long trail that he left gets
so
washed
gross.
away by this freak storm that comes out of nowhere.
So he knows now that this is all divine art that he is doing, because there's a lot of background in between, like, each incident. You hear him talking to Virgil, and he's describing what he's doing as relating to art. So he's taking these pictures, and he's thinking that he's creating art with his murders and explaining it that way. So when this storm just came out of nowhere and washed away all the evidence, he knew that it must be divine actions on his part. He was blessed to do this or whatever.
And then it cuts to not even a full incident, but he's, like, making out with this lady in, I think, like, her apartment, and he just chokes her to death. He tells you he learned how to choke better, like, for how long and stuff like that. And he takes some photos of her, takes her back to the lockup, freezes her. Then a few days later, this is when incident 3 starts, he decides he didn't like the photos he took of her, so he's got to go back to her apartment with her now frozen body.
So she's frozen with, like, her arms up in a weird position, because he just takes them in and throws them.
Yeah.
And so he literally is heading to the locker to get her so he can take her back to her apartment and pose her again and take better pictures.
Yeah.
And on his way there, it's nighttime, and he sees this old lady walking on the opposite side of the road.
Yeah, this little old lady. And he drives past her, but then he hits his brakes and he goes, God damn it, and he turns around and he floors it right at her, and he runs her over and he kills her. And then he throws her body in the back of the van, and instead of going back to the lockup and just calling it quits, he goes to the apartment.
Yeah, he has the dead body of the girl he already killed, and then he has the dead body of the old lady,
and then he goes back to the original girl's apartment, and he, one by one, like, grabs their bodies and takes them upstairs, and it's, like, you know, two stories, this building, and it's like, through right by so many doors, and nobody sees him, and he takes these 2 bodies into his apartment, and he takes new photos.
Of both of the women together.
Both of the women this time, which he says the second body added a tinge of humor that he really liked. And then he actually develops these photos, and he signs them Mr. Sophistication, and he sends them into a local newspaper.
Yeah.
which is funny.
Yeah, so he named himself.
He named himself because he's that full of himself, which is hilarious. And then incident 4, is that the girl?
Isn't that his family?
And then the family happens, which is just Virgil kind of brings up family and like asks Jack why he never like wanted a family and just like a normal life. And Jack goes, well, I had a family. And he goes off on this other story, and it shows him in the woods like at a target range with like a lady and her 2 kids.
Yeah, and there's like a high up platform, almost like a deer blind that's high up in the middle of this open field, and then there's a bunch of target shooting areas. And it's just this woman and her 2 little boys. One's named George, and the other one they call Grumpy. Because he's grumpy, because he doesn't want to be there. Told his mom he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to go shoot guns. He didn't want to go up in the thing. He just doesn't want to be there because they're supposedly having a picnic and shooting guns.
And so Jack's like doing these weird monologues about like gun safety and guns, and then he starts going off about how
he used to hunt when he was young, but how it's horrible and awful
and terrible and evil. And then he starts talking about culling and how if you culled a crow, like that's just deciding what gets to live and what gets to die, and how that's terrible.
Yeah,
he's just being like a weird hypocrite. And
he's talking to these children. And they're small children.
He's talking down to them, but like in the weird, not in a father way. It's just so odd the way he gives the performance.
Condescending and strange.
Yeah.
And the woman is like
oblivious.
You can tell like he's being a father figure to my sons, and she's all adoringly looking at him, and he makes them all put on red hats, including himself. Safety first, and put on red hats. So you're seen out here.
So he takes the kid up and he goes, I'll aim for you, you pull the trigger. Another very dad thing. The kid pulls the trigger and then it cuts, and next thing you know, you see the mom and her 2 kids huddled behind a rock, and the mom is like freaking out. She's being shot at by Jack, who's now up in the tower alone, just shooting at them.
And he starts talking about how the order of how you're supposed to kill animals is if you have a doe and then a yearling and then a new fawn, that you shoot the new fawn first because the 2 older deer can survive without the younger, but the younger can't survive. So that's the order you shoot, from youngest to oldest. But the mom and her sons, they were not running in the right order.
Yeah, because her oldest kid darted out first.
Yeah, and he shot him.
And he shot him in the leg, and his leg kind of
like severs.
It's bad.
Yeah.
And
she goes running out screaming.
Crying out in pain, right? And so she goes out with her other kid in her arms, running out and screaming, and that's when Jack shoots and kills her youngest kid, and then finishes, I think, her oldest kid off. You think he would kill her, but he doesn't right away. It cuts, and they're having a picnic, and the 2 bodies of these boys are sort of propped up next to their mom, and he starts talking about how the pie, he never got enough pie as a boy, and the pie is looking good, and how she should give Georgie some pie. And then he makes her literally like force feed her dead child pie.
Yeah, and takes pictures of it while it's happening.
Takes pictures while she's like bawling and just like completely broken. And then he asks her favorite number, and she says 12. And he says, that's a good number. And he gets up and he starts counting.
Yeah. And this is where I was like in the movie, I'm like, favorite number? Do I have a favorite number?
37.
Keagan says 37. I choose 29. It's my birthday. So, yeah, good number. But 12, he starts counting, and he's walking up into the tower as he's counting.
She doesn't even,
she doesn't realize at first, I don't think. And then she does try to run.
She gets up and she walks, but like she's slow.
Not really running.
Yeah.
I think she's at the point where her entire world is gone. So I think she's just hoping for the end of it.
Right.
She knows what's going to happen. She knows her boys are dead. What's the point? This guy is going to kill her. It's obvious. He's going to kill her.
And so he shoots her, and he goes down to like look at her body, and she's not there. It's just a blood trail, which is one of the things he taught the boys earlier about.
Yeah.
He taught them about like blood sniffing dogs, bloodhounds and stuff, and like
what is that? A Scheiss dog?
A Schweiss
dog. Yeah.
It's German. And he taught him about like blood trails. And so he follows the trail, and he's, like, cockily whistling the whole time. And he gets right up behind her, and he whistles one more time, and he shoots her. And that's not even an incident. That's just something he did.
Yeah. And it's the more how you talked about the red, it's, as we're talking about it again, and I'm reading a little bit as we go, there's red in, like, everything. Yeah, the red hat.
The jack he used to kill the lady is red.
He used to kill the lady.
Robe at the end.
The robe at the end. There's a lot of blood in the one scene with Claire, like the red blood everywhere. Him stabbing her. He had already killed her, but he had to bring out the blood. And
also, he ends up taxidermying one of the little boys.
Oh, yeah. He takes the family back to
one.
the thing, and he said he learned a lot about taxidermy and different tools you could use
and how to work around rigor mortis.
Yeah, before they froze. So you'd wait till rigor mortis, let go, and then he could
pose them,
and then freeze them in the pose that he had put them in.
And he gave him a smile.
So Grumpy wasn't grumpy anymore.
It's truly horrifying.
This is a really bad scene.
It's disturbing.
It's horribly disturbing. I was trying to tell Lauren today about it. And I said it's gory, but it's not gory. Like, it's not overwhelmingly, disgustingly gory. But
it's rough to look at.
That's why I said it's very unforgiving, and there's a lot of psychotic.
It's just realistic.
Yeah.
Like, it's like how, like, if you've seen real shit.
Yeah. It's definitely psychologically, insane. And I told her, I said, he's a serial killer with OCD, and she's like, I love him. And I'm like, yeah, but you won't. The next incident was a girl that he said he had the hardest time with because he actually felt like he was developing real feelings for her. Like, he cared about her, which he is a complete sociopath, or not sociopath. He's a psychopath. And he has no empathy or sympathy or love.
He doesn't. He even practices how to smile in the mirror in some scenes.
Yeah.
And then eventually he, like, pastes over the smiles he's learning from just with, like, newspapers of his murders.
Yeah. So he's talking about how if you're injured, that you can basically scam people into helping you. Yeah. And how being weak makes women want to save you and help you. And
very Ted Bundy.
Yeah. He puts, he gets a crutch and is walking around like he's hurt, and he meets this girl named Jacqueline. But he doesn't call her Jacqueline. He calls her Simple.
Right.
Because he makes fun of her. But he gets to her house in this scene, and she is kind of an emotional mess when he gets there.
Yeah, she's mad at him.
She's got her head down. I don't know if she's mad or scared, but she's upset.
Yeah.
And he says, what's going on? And he acts like he's caring, and she won't talk to him. So she has these phones, old handset phones.
2 handsets that are plugged into each other.
Yeah, they're connected by a red wire. They're red phones.
Yeah.
Again, more red. In the Wikipedia, it says it's a reference to the Chinese concept of the red thread of fate, which connects lovers.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's just a color motif, like Breaking Bad.
Yeah. So he gets on the phone in the other room, and because she tells him she can't look at him. And they start talking on the phones, and she's like, please don't leave me. I know you're going to leave me.
And he's like, oh, I'm never going to leave you.
I'm here. I'm never going to leave you. I'm going to be here forever for you.
Yeah, he's being real nice, and then it cuts, and he's just being a fucking dick.
Yeah, they start drinking.
That's when he starts calling her Simple, and he literally says, what's your name again? She goes, Jacqueline. And he goes, what did your parents pick that out of a $3 strip club or something?
And she is just sitting there taking it.
Yeah, she's not even reacting.
No, it's almost like she just, like she's been abused her whole life. And that's what she expects love to be or caring to be. And so he's now walking around the apartment without the crutch. He walks in with it, but the whole time he's there, he's not using it.
He stopped using it immediately, yeah.
And so then he decides to tell her that he's killed
60 people.
60 people.
And then, 2 seconds later, he says, I've killed 61 people. And she's like, I thought you just said it was 60. Thinking he was messing around. He goes, that doesn't mean things can change.
Yeah, and he tells her that, he's a serial killer.
He's
And
Mr. Sophistication.
He's Mr. Sophistication. And so she's just kind of like...
She's a little freaked out. And, like, eventually she does decide to, like, run.
Yeah.
And, because he's just being a dick. And she's got this weird door. It's like a chain lock, a deadbolt, and, like, her keys. And, like, her door knob had a, like, lock on it, too.
Kind of like an OCD person.
Yeah, like a
highly anxious person that has to make sure that those doors are locked.
So she runs out of her apartment. She leaves the keys in the key one. And she finds this cop who's just sitting out there, right? Mm-hmm. And this cop is, like, just chilling. And she walks up and she's telling him that her friend's weird. He's saying he killed 60 people. And he's like, lady, are you drunk? Because she had, like, a glass of wine with dinner or something. She's like, I've drank, yeah. And the cop goes, oh, I can't tell you to stop, but I recommend it. And then Jack comes down and he goes, hey, everything this lady has told you tonight is true. I'm a serial killer. I've killed 60 people.
Yeah, and the cop's like, I suggest you and your boyfriend quit drinking.
And then he, like, pulls her on the block to, like, do another rotation or whatever.
And so then Jack starts crying and telling her he's sorry and he's going to make it up to her. And he didn't mean the mean things he said. And so she goes back upstairs with him. And that's when it clicks. She's like, you don't have your crutch.
You didn't use it downstairs either.
Yeah. And she realizes that all the doors locked and her keys are gone.
Yeah. And earlier he, like, marked on her chest with a magic marker, like, an outline of her breast.
Yeah, he had asked for a magic marker. And she just sat there while he was totally belittling her. And he's literally, like, drawing lines around her breast.
Like surgical marks.
Yeah. So they get back in the apartment. They're locked in. She's asking to leave because because he apologizes and she believes him. And she's like, I can get you some pills to help with that. And so she said, I'm going to go get pills. But she was running. She realized that the phone line had been cut.
Yeah.
And so she was going to go try to get away again. And she's like, where are my keys? So he says, why don't you scream? Why don't you scream for help? And so she starts screaming, and he starts screaming, no, not like that. And he gets even louder.
Yeah, he's like, help me! It's Mr. Sophistication! You know, just like screaming, there's a killer in here. And then he tells her to be quiet, and he walks over to the window and goes, do you hear that? It's nothing.
Yeah, he's like, nobody's coming to help you. So then he walks her over to the window, opens the window wide open, and they're only like 10, 12 feet up, it looks like. It's 2 stories, but it's not like super high. And he's like, scream. And she starts screaming. He's like, you see, nobody's coming to get you. That's what kind of world we live in. They're not going to come save you. Nobody cares about you. And he shuts the window, and she's like, please just let me leave.
Yeah. And then he just goes at her, and he
like, binds her with the phone cord from
the red
phones. And then he
starts chopping off her breasts while she's alive.
Yes.
And then it cuts.
And he had told her, like, the one compliment he gave her in the beginning was she had nice breasts.
Yeah. And then
nice tits, I think is how he put it. You have nice tits.
It cuts to him, and he's downstairs outside of her place now. And the cops, like, pulled back around and is like,
dealing with some people in the alleyway that are arguing or fighting or something.
And he grabs fucking windshield wiper and he tucks in one of her breasts under it. You know, like a business card. And he walks away. And then is incident 5.
Yeah, so he kidnaps a man.
Yeah, this man. And he's got him in the back of his van. And he opens the doors. And he's got a gun pointed at him. He says, do what I say if you want to live. And he makes the guy uncuff himself, turn around, and then cuff his hands behind his back by himself. And he leads him into the freezer. And he's got, like, this little, like, almost like a bike rack for, like, people. He's got 4 other alive people tied to this thing. And
all men. It's all men this time. There's no women. It's all men. And all we've really seen him kill up to this point is women and children.
Right.
But his freezer is full of the 61 people he has murdered.
And he's got a rifle on a tripod. And he had just bought some ammo in an earlier scene.
Yeah.
Like a box of Full Metal Jacket.
Did we mention in his freezer that there was a door
Oh,
that he
yeah.
could never get open?
Yeah.
So all the way through the freezer at the far side, there was another door, and he could not get it open. It would never open.
Which always made him mad.
Yeah, so he was aggravated with it. But so this comes in to play in this incident.
Yeah, in a minute here, yeah. So these guys are tied up to this thing. He's got a rifle, some Full Metal Jacket rounds, and he ties up the guy he just brought in. And he starts going off about how in the Eastern Front in World War II, they were running out of ammo, so they were trying to find like the most effective way to kill the largest amount of people with one bullet. And so he was going to take this Full Metal Jacket round and see if it could go through 5 people's heads.
Yeah.
But the guy he just kidnapped says, "Oh, sir, we have a problem, sir." And Jack goes, "Yeah, that's
what everybody tells me.
That's what they always say." Yeah, and he goes, No, that's not a Full Metal Jacket round. I was in the military. I know the difference." And so Jack looks at it and he goes, "Oh, you're right. It's a hunting round." And he gets mad, so he goes back to his ammo dealer. Al. He's like, "Al, yo, you sold me like mismarked ammo." And Al's like obviously shaky. And he goes, "Well, I think I'm going to have to ask for a receipt. You know, it's just the law requires." And he goes, "A receipt? I've shopped here for 20 years. I've never gotten a receipt from you." And Al goes, "Then I can't take that back." And then he goes...
you can tell Al is really uncomfortable.
Really. And Jack pulls out his little coin purse, which is the lady's other tit.
Yes.
And he goes, "How about this? How about you just sell me 1 Full Metal Jacket round?" And he starts like rifling through for money and just like throwing money on the counter. And then Al basically tells him to get out, and so Jack goes, "Fine, I'm going to go to so-and-so," which is...
SP, apparently.
SP, yeah, which is like another like backwoods ammo dealer guy he knows. And so Jack runs out of the thing, and you see the ammo guy go to call someone, and Jack pulls up on SP's trailer, and SP's in this red robe, and he turns around. He's got like this magnum, and he points it at Jack, and he says, "It's over, Jack. They got you.
They know what you did."
They know what you did. And he goes...
You can kind of see the panic on his face. Like, he really thinks they know what he did.
Yeah. And he goes, "They know what I did." And he goes, "They know about the robbery, Jack." Which, you've never seen him take anything from any of these people.
Yeah, he never even takes, like,
he always puts, like,
souvenirs.
anything he picks up, he literally puts back down.
Yeah, his souvenirs are the pictures that he takes.
Yeah.
So that's it.
So he's only ever murdered people. He's never taken anything.
Yeah.
So whatever they have him on, it's wrong. And
none of it's been sexual, by the way, either. When he kills people, he's not raping them. He's not having sex with them. It's not anything like that. He's just for the murder and the pictures.
So SP calls the sheriff, but the sheriff's not there because the town only has like one guy, I guess. He sits Jack down, and Jack like eventually convinces him to put his gun down because it's offensive to have a gun pointed at him. He's like, "You're my best friend, you know, that means something to me. I don't know if I'm your friend, but you know." And the guy goes, "Yeah, you're right, Jack. I know ya." And he puts down his gun. And he grabs it really quick and points it back at him. He goes, "Oh, I'm quick as I ever was." And then he puts his gun back down and, like, smiles at him. But while he's not looking, Jack pulls out, like, a Bowie knife from his boot. And then he, like, lunges at him and puts it right under his chin, like, all the way up through his skull.
Yeah, kills him instantly. And then takes his red rope.
He takes his red rope. He waits for the cop to get there. The cop shows up. He turns around. He shoots the cop in the face with the guy's gun. He goes to the guy's ammo storage, gets 1 Full Metal Jacket round, just one, dumped out all the rest, goes back to the thing. He's got this big metal bar to secure the freezer, because I guess he knew something like this would probably happen.
Yeah.
And he slams it down, and he puts the round in. He even asks the guy, he puts it right in front of his eye, and he's like, "Is this a Full Metal Jacket round?" And the guy's like, "Yes, sir." And he's like very upset this time. And he puts it in the gun, but he realizes like he can't get the trajectory he wants because he's too close. And right behind him is the door he could never get open.
Yeah.
And so he finally grabs this bar that's like this, just this pipe, and he puts it around and he busts the door open, and it's just like this dark black room of nothing.
Yeah, it's almost, you think it's just going to be like an extension of the freezer.
Right.
But it is just pitch black. There's nothing.
And he moves back like 5 inches.
Yeah.
And goes to line it up, and he hears a voice. And it's the voice you've been hearing the whole movie. It's Virgil, but this time he's not like in a void somewhere. It's just him. It's just him sitting in a room. He's in the corner just like sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
And the whole movie, Jack, we forgot to mention this. Jack is by trade an engineer because his mother told him to be. But he always wanted to be an architect. And a lot of the in-between scenes, you've been seeing him build these weird, awful houses.
Yeah, because he says he came into property and money from
a
inheritance.
Substantial inheritance.
Yeah.
He never really mentions what that means.
So he's built the house out of cinder blocks and then
out
had it tore down.
Because it wasn't the right material. He's got to find his divine material. And so he builds a weird one out of wood at the very end.
Yeah.
That's just sitting on this property that he bought. And it's just like a weird, hollow, terrible...
It almost looked like burned wood. It
Yeah.
wasn't even like good wood. And he said he just lost track of it because he was doing other things and he couldn't get it right and he didn't have the right material. And so Virgil is like, well...
Weren't you going to build a house?
Yeah.
And he goes, I just could never get it right. And he goes, it was the material. And he goes, well, you have to use the material that's around you. Mm-hmm. Let the material speak for itself. Mm-hmm. And which is weird because usually Virgil, he's not very encouraging.
No, he doesn't encourage Jack to do the things he's doing.
He's usually actually he mentions several times how repulsed he is by Jack.
Yes. And yeah, makes it clear that he doesn't agree with what he's doing.
Yeah. Which is I think he's just trying to secure Jack's place in, spoiler alert, hell. And,
so yeah, he tells him that he needs to use the materials he has.
Right, and so Jack starts grabbing these frozen bodies. Now, keep in mind the 5 people are still alive, tied to this thing.
tied to this thing,
but
waiting to be killed.
He takes the bodies, and he starts pinning them up with, like, meat hooks in the freezer and stuff, and, like, posing them and putting them together. And eventually, he's got, like, a house, like, little shack made of these 60 frozen human bodies.
Yeah, just the scene, like... The camera pans back, and that's what you see.
And it's so dramatic, and it's like the ultimate culmination of everything he's done. And the cops are like welding through his door, and they're putting their guns in and just shooting blindly.
And those men are still tied to this thing, watching this all. Can you imagine, like, just watching him build this house?
And so Virgil goes into the house because he's sort of like inspecting it. He's saying it's good work. And then Jack goes in, and all he sees is a hole in the ground, just like a Looney Tunes style, like hole in the ground. And he goes in, and then the movie gets real weird. They start out in a cave, like a flooded cave.
So it's just this hole in the floor, and they go through it, and they're walking through this cave, and it's all a bunch of water,
like
and you don't know where they're
dirty,
going.
mucky water up to their necks.
Yeah.
And they seem like panicky. Like Virgil knows where he's going, but like even the camera, like the camera work is handheld, so even like the camera feels unsure about what's happening.
Yeah. And we forgot to mention when he was first talking about the things that he did, he talked about when he was a little boy, the one thing that brought him comfort was seeing these men
like reap the fields
with scythes, and how they would take a breath in and swing back and breathe out as they swung forward. And he was sitting there at a pond listening to this, and a little duck swam up, a baby duck, and he caught it in his net and picked the duck up and promptly cut the duck's leg off and then put it back in the pond. That was heaven to him.
Yeah.
Was to see the men in
reaping and sowing.
Yeah. So that comes in as we're going on this trek through wherever he's at.
And yeah, at one point he hits like a cabin where he sees the men, and he starts like tearing up. And then they move on, and he mentions to Virgil, like, basically he wants to see all of hell.
Yeah.
And Virgil says that, like, he takes him to basically the final pit of hell, and there's this high-pitched sound, the whole time.
It's like a buzzing.
It's like a buzzing, in which they explain is all the screams of hell culminating into one, like, sound.
Yeah, because Verge says it to him at one point. He's like, well, you don't want to know where it's coming from. But
And he goes, I want to see it all.
Yeah.
And so Virgil actually takes him there because he says, like, not everyone is so chatty at the time that they arrive there.
You kind of, like, have a soft spot for Virgil, even though you find out that he is, from hell. He's, like, the narrator.
It's like a ferryman. What can you do, you know?
Yeah. But he seems so nice.
He does.
And then you find out he's just leading you to hell.
Yeah. And so he mentions to Jack, like, this is the final pit, and it's just like a big pit full of, like, lava.
Yeah.
And there's a bridge, but it's broke. And on the other side, there's stairs that lead up. Virgil goes, this isn't where you're supposed to go. Shockingly, you're a few layers up, which would actually make sense if you're going by Dante's Inferno, because murderers aren't on the final circle.
Yeah, who did you say was on the final circle?
Traitors, like people who commit treason.
See, that blows my mind. A murderer.
It's because they had different values back then.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. So Jack goes, well, what's with the bridge? And he goes, well, yeah, as you can see, like, there once was a bridge here. It leads over there. And he goes, well, what's over there? He goes, it's a staircase. It leads out of hell and up. And he goes, the bridge was here, but that was before my time. Which, again, is crazy because he's lived for, like, ever, probably, right? And Jack kind of looks at this jagged wall. That's sort of, it's like these weird, like, obelisks, like, almost like jagged rock.
It almost reminds me of some of the pictures I took when I was in Iceland of the mountains, how they're almost like columns of stone that are jagged.
And he goes, do you think somebody could climb the wall all around to the other side? And Virgil's like, well, I've seen a lot of people try, but none have made it.
Yeah. It doesn't end very well.
But he goes, but at the end of the day, it's your choice.
Yeah, he's like, we're not staying here. We're turning back and taking you back to where you're supposed to be.
Go. But you can try to climb this if you want. And so he goes, all right, yeah, I'm going to climb it. And Virgil goes, well, I wish you luck. I'm gone now.
Yeah,
you're on your own.
This is goodbye, Jack.
Yeah, and he leaves, and Virgil leaves, and Jack starts climbing these rocks, and they don't look very climbable. And he gets about halfway, and you can see the stairs, and they do go up, they're so tantalizing, man. And he gets about halfway, and then he loses a good foothold, and eventually...
And he's still wearing the red robe.
He's still wearing, the red robe of the guy he stabbed to death.
Yeah.
And he got a bad foothold, and his feet are swinging, and eventually one of his hands gives out, and then the other gives out, and he falls all the way into the final pit of hell, where he belongs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's that. And it's a very crazy movie. It's a very gory, well, not gory, but very disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, there is some gore, but it's not like, well, as Lauren said, I don't like the Saw movies. They're too gory. It's not gory like that.
Not like Saw, but it's...
There are a couple, like, when he flips Claire over and you see what happened to her face when he dry her.
I would say it's just realistic gore.
Yeah.
It's like bound in the like laws of our universe, which is disturbing.
I think the scariest part when we were watching the movie too is I looked at Keagan and I'm like, there's people out there like this.
Oh yeah.
They're the serial killers that have no sense of what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
Like they just don't see that. It's fulfilling whatever need they feel they have.
He really thought like whatever he was doing was art, and it just like the whole time, every justification he had, like, it was all bullshit. And it's very much, it would be like, yeah, if you sat like a real serial killer down and just gave him like an hour to just like go off and say they're nothing, to give every justification that doesn't make any sense because they didn't need a reason.
Yeah, it's crazy. Keegan's been after me to watch it for quite a while, and Sydney told me today at work she is feeling better, that now she felt left out, so she's going to have to watch it.
It's a good movie.
And I'm like, it definitely is. It's a watch. It's if you're into horror and weird,
I've seen it 5+ times at least.
I'm sure there's lots more that I missed that I would probably see when I watch it again.
It reminds me of like that Jack in the Hole, if you've ever seen that, right? Is that what that is? Or John in the Hole, like with the kid and his family.
Oh, yeah.
Very realistic and messed up.
Yeah. I forgot about that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the house that Jack built. Have you seen it?
You should.
Let us know what you think of it.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody being here. Sydney will be back next week, I do believe, and we will continue. I do really appreciate Keagan being here. I think we're going to throw him in every now and then because it's a lot of fun having someone else's perspective and talking about stuff. So
I'm going to start charging by the hour.
He's going to charge by the hour. Well, you were our editor at one point. You were charging by the hour.
And now I'm talent.
And then he told us how much he hated us. And now we know why, because we edit. There's a lot of ums and mouth noises.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Anyway, so that's it for us this week. Next week, I think we'll be talking about the yellow wallpaper, so that'll be interesting. Can't wait to discuss that a little bit. Thank you again. My name is Rebecca Snow, and this is
Keagan.
Until next time, I'm the Beck, and soon to be the Becks again.
Yeah.